Hello everyone. I'm excited to be back on here today with you. I am going to apologize right up front that we have some terrible sounds in the background. If you hear those, I do apologize, but my husband and son are building, and when they start, we don't ask them to stop because we're excited that things are getting done. And I did not feel like I could hold off on doing these workshops anymore. So again, I have All of Us stamp of the month. So feel free to kind of change out. Could also be a birthday, as it says. I hope your birthday's a hoot. So lots of fun stuff. I hope you have already watched my video that shows how to make all the thin cuts. Because that's going to really help you through the workshop today. You're going to have all of that prep done. And basically, you were just going to make as many cuts of this as you could. Now, I did want to show you really quickly in that video and the papers that I had sent to you, I had used the watercolor paper, which has a little texture, or has a lot of texture to it, so that the water doesn't just sit on the top, but can actually be soaked in. And so if you use that, which I sent to you, or if you use regular cardstock, White Daisy cardstock, you'll definitely get a different look. This one here is using just our new colored pencils and using the watercolor paper. I didn't even try and watercolor it, but I like the texture that it gave to me. And then this is used on the plain White Daisy, and I just used that with markers. I wasn't looking so much for the texture, I was just coloring in. So you can use either or, whatever you like. I'll explain in a minute why I use the texture and how it made it easier, but I just want to let you know, whatever you choose to do, feel free. Also, mine is popped up, yours is not. I was hoping to be able to do these with you, and I just wasn't able to find the wire that I needed. And this one, honestly, stands up a little way too high. This was from some of our old retired, I don't even remember what it's called, but it was really fun, and I used it, but I see how tall it sticks up. So yours will lay flat, or you can put a 3D foam tape underneath it, and that is absolutely fine too. So whatever you want to do with that, but just know that that's why mine's going to be different from yours. So we're just going to jump right in here today. So for now, make sure you go ahead, grab your pieces. We're going to go ahead and start on these. We're going to start with our easier cards, and we're going to kind of build up. So grab your workshop kit card and envelopes, and let's see what we can create. All right, so here we're going to do this top one first. And if you already have all your thin cuts cut, go ahead and get those out. Now, you may want to sit down and just color them all at once, and so you might want to wait on the coloring if you haven't already, not knowing for sure what we were doing, or you may want to color them now as we go. I'm going to walk you through kind of like what I did to show you. Here you can even see that this is a flat one, and then this is, let me see if I can find the exact same one here. This is a textured. So really you can, in person, I think you can see some of the difference, but maybe not, quite as much as it is here. It's kind of hard to tell. A lot of times, like if you pull these up, those eyes don't fill in all the way. See how big those eyes are? So sometimes I'll take a black pen to those and just fill them in, because I've got everything else nice and crystal clear, but I just can't get that whole full, and it's because of the divots that it gives there. So again, either way, it's absolutely fine. I'm going to start just by coloring first, because I want to do that part with you, and then I'm going to show you kind of then we'll just create the card together. So here I am. I pulled out the same one that I used on my original, see? And I did pull out the watercolor. Now, the reason I like the watercolor is coloring is not necessarily my favorite thing to do. I'm not great at it, I guess, let's put it that way. And so I'm getting better, but I just went into my stash of pencils, and I just pulled out all the pencil colors that I thought would work well for this card and for this friend of ours, I guess you could say. And so I did not pay attention to whether or not it was watercolor pencils or not. I have to be honest, I love, love, love our new pencils. They are not watercolor pencils. And I know we keep changing pencils, and you're probably like, what's the point of having a changing of the pencils all the time? But there actually is a really good point to it. The other ones were watercolor. They were a little bit harder to color with. These are super, super creamy, and they fill right in and move right around. So all I'm doing is I am just coloring in like the harder parts that I kind of want to stand out a little bit more. And then I'm just going to, around the edges, I'm going to take the same color, and I'm just going to very lightly shade in from the edges. because I'm using watercolor paper, I don't have to do much because it just is going to make it almost look like feathers on him or on her, depending on which. I'm going to get a lot of that, and I'm just lightly going in on this middle section. So it's kind of still giving me the shading, but not quite as deep. Same thing here. I'm going to go around here. And it's just, I don't really have to worry so much about the shading of them or how they are. I am just letting the watercolor paper pick it up and allow me to run with it, basically. It just pulls in and makes it look feathery. I really, really like that look instead of trying to do several different looks together. And with the markers, I'm going to pull this one in so you can see. The markers is a much more flat look, and it's a good look. I love our marker look, so please don't feel like I'm trying to say one or the other. But because I'm dealing with an animal that has feathers, I love being able to pull in that look so easily without really having to do a whole lot, right? So I'm just going to kind of go over that a few times, pull that in. And then the way I do it is just like I do it with markers, is I'm just coming over, I'm finding that little crease. I'm kind of trying to decide what side, you know, the light might be coming from and make that a little bit darker. But then, and this one I'm kind of giving a little bit more shade because this isn't going to look feathery, right? I don't want it to look feathery necessarily. I want him to look feathery. But if it's wool or if it's flannel, it might have that soft shading as well. So play with it. Who cares, right? Just play and have fun. That's really what we're doing. All right, so how fun is that? It goes super, super fast, easy, because you're not really having to worry about all the shading, and it gives it that nice textured look. So I love that. So this card is going to come together super, super easy. I did not do anything super difficult on this card. I will say one thing I am going to do on this one that I didn't do on the first is I am going to draw my little black lines on this outside edge because I feel like it needs it. And so it needs something on this edge here. That's my personal opinion, but I'm sticking to it. So what I'm going to do is, I have found for me, I know I have taught over the years that if you drag it down, that works. And it really kind of does. But I also found for me, I do better if I'm going straight across. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because that's how I write. But I do have to stop and move my paper. And so I do sometimes get that little dot right there. So, because I can't, you know, move down any further. So just know, whatever works for you. I just noticed that mine tend to go a little bit straighter when I'm going across versus when I'm going down. And I didn't bring it all the way to the sides because I'm going to have paper there. So you can go all the way around just in case you don't. But I think I'm going to be okay. If not, I may go back and redo it. So we'll see. All right, so first thing, we're just going to take this piece right here, and we're going to put this about 1/8 of an inch from the edge on the left side, and we're just going to make sure that it is centered from top to bottom. And see, I may actually need to go because I was high above that. So let me do that real quick before I do any of the other. All right, so now I'm just going to take the piece of glitter paper. And when I do cards like this, a lot of times I will choose to use glitter paper over the glitter shimmer trim because I can cut it down a little bit thinner if I want to, and it will last me a lot longer. Where sometimes I can't get a straight, perfectly even cut with the shimmer trim. If I'm just looking for 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 of an inch, then it's perfect. But if I want something a little bit shorter or a little bit thinner, then I'm going to go to my glitter paper. Or if I want something wider, of course. And then we're just going to put this little strip right beside it. So again, super, super simple. We're not really doing anything groundbreaking with this one, but it's a cute card and it's a cute little design that you can do and take all over the place, right? And use for many different things. Now, I'm going to finish this card with you, but I'm going to show you in a different card some different things that you can go back and kind of change up a little bit with this card to even bring in a little bit more color, okay? We'll do that later, but for right now, we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment. Again, you can use whatever you want. I used the Happy Owl Days, But since I know most of you are going to be creating this after Christmas, you may want to use something different. So I may do thanks for all you do. Actually, I'm going to stick with Happy Owl Days because I just really like it. All right. Excuse me as I reach for that. So I am going to stamp this in just regular black because on this, I'm not going to have any kind of outline or anything else that's going to go on that. If you were going to stamp and then put markers or any other color, water or anything on there, then you might want to use the intense black ink. All right, so I'm just going to put, when I go to stamp this, I'm going to stamp it pretty close to the right edge. That way I can cut my dovetail into the left side. All right. Clean this off real quick, and let me clean up my desk a little bit because it's starting to get cluttered and I don't like that. All right, I'll leave that there because I may use that one again in a minute. All right, so now I've got my owl days. I'm just going to take my scissors and we're just going to cut a little dovetail into here. Okay, just like that. And then we're just going to, this is how, I'm going to just showing you how a lot of times I will do it. I will go ahead and get everything glued up, stick it to my finger, and that way I have it ready to go and I don't have to pull it out so much. So as I do this one, I'm going to bring it to about 1/2 of an inch from the bottom, and it's going to be flush with the right side. And I want to make sure it's nice and straight. Okay. Then I'm going to take this little frame and I want it to overlap all 3 of these papers and kind of be centered from right to left. So that's going to work for me. And then I'm going to take our little fun dude and I'm going to pop him up with some 3D foam tape. And I was so excited to see that the Slimline shaker window and foam was available for the Black Friday special. I don't know about you guys, but I like totally got a ton of them because I know that this is the best bang for my buck. Plus I got it at a reduced rate. So that was even more cool. But I just like to take these, they're already cut. I don't have to do a whole lot. And then I can use the acetate for other things, or I can still use some of, you know, the frames or whatever as they were meant to be used for shaker windows. So I'm just going to take these off. Again, I apologize for the saw, but I'm happy things are getting done. Oh, looks like that moved on me. And then we're just going to stick this right on here. All right, now something else that's fun to do is if you wanted to take just a little bit of like Capri or Lagoon or Glacier and your blending brush and put some color behind him, that would be really, really cool. So I just kept it pretty simple today because we're going to have some other techniques that are a little bit more busy later, and I didn't want to wear you guys out. Okay, so there's one. So now we're going to go to our next card. All right, now this is just a fun card. This one is so simple. Say it again with me. So simple. You can go with the lighter side or the darker side for outside. Totally up to you. I think I'm going to go with the lighter side. However, my original, I did do the darker, so I'll pull that in here so you can see that. I've got both of my Versamats here. I like having this spread, especially if I'm doing scrapbooking or whatever. I can make sure everything is laid out and together. Okay, so here you can see this is the darker and then this is the lighter, but I think I'm going to use the lighter just to change things up a bit. I love being able to use our thin cuts that we get that are like a card front, and that's what this one is. And the last time I looked, this was still available on the website, so I can't guarantee that it is now. And they are having a boxing sale after Christmas, so they may be in there as well. But I love being able to get these because it's already got the decorative cuts on there. It's so easy. I don't have to do anything. I'm just putting this straight to paper, but in the past, if you've created with me you would have seen me use these as a shaker window as well. It's fun to be able to put some sequins behind it or beads behind it and just make it look like rain or, you know, just anything kind of falling or in there. But today what we're just going to do is we're just going to put it straight to the paper. And I gave you all these little clouds. We're not going to use them, but I gave them because they came in the pack. So why not, right? And I want you're more than welcome to use them on another card. You could even do like we had done in a previous workshop. I think it was last month where we did with our leaves, where you kind of use these as a mask on your paper and you color around it and then pull it off. So you can do it for several different ways. Use them however is going to work for you. But I thought that would be fun for you to have something in your stash that you can use for something else. Okay, so we're just going to grab a tree branch and then a flying bird. And again, I'm going to use the textured watercolor paper. I hope you like it. I thought you would, and that's why I sent it to you, but I do hope that you like it. But I'm using the flying bird just because I feel like, or I'm using the textured paper, sorry, because I feel like it's much more fun and it gives it that really cool look, especially when it talks about like you're looking at the branches. Branches aren't smooth, right? And I don't have to do anything to kind of get that rustic wood look. I'm just coloring like I normally would. Okay, and I'm just kind of going over a few of these little pieces. I'm not going to do the same color for him because that would be just be too much tone on tone, but I did want to do it for the outline. I'm going to take the same one I had before. Just kind of go over it a little bit. This is how you can kind of bring in like a darker shade of it, is just kind of go over him just a little bit, real lightly. This one almost has like a red look. So I went on top of that brown and now I'm able to get that brownish tint. And I'm just kind of going in real soft to the middle of the face. I'm not trying to be super picky or, you know, any of that. But I don't have to be with watercolor paper. I'm barely touching the paper and it's, look how good I'm getting. And then I'm pressing down just a little bit harder right here to be able to get more of that color. Okay, there we go. Then we're going to do... So one of our sets from the Colorista, and I've got it in here, is all about the natural landscape. And this is honestly a good one to be able to use for the owls, for the outside trees, however you want to do it. This is just a really, really good one to do because it's got all the perfect colors there, right? And so I'm going to take out the leafy green, and this is going to be my outside. And I'm just kind of working backwards actually, but I knew I wanted to use this color, so I just went ahead and grabbed it. And I'm just really lightly doing all the leaves. Real light like. Okay. And then I'm just going to take this center part, and you can take basically any ones that you want. This one is woodland green. Well, I'll try it. And see, they all kind of blend together so well. And one thing, if you didn't do the album retreat, which I highly recommend our album retreats, they're amazing. But I will tell you that they are definitely more time consuming and have a lot of different techniques. So get your coffee if you're doing it with them. And if you're not, don't plan to do a lot at one time. Just enjoy the process. Okay, so one thing I will show you though, that is what I was going to say, is if you take your colored pencil and you want a really smooth texture, I'm taking just a piece of scrap paper right now, but if you have the sharp point, you know, most of the time when we're writing we want a sharp point, but when it comes to colored pencils we don't. So they recommend that you take it and you just get rid of that sharp piece. Just keep going back and forth on a on your scratch paper until you get a really just soft angled piece, And then that makes it so much easier to blend, to color, to do whatever. You're not going to get those harsh lines. And I really found that to be true in what we were doing. So for right here, that center, I almost want that harsh line. So now I'm going up against that other edge and I'm getting the area where it's got that harsh line there, but everything else is done. And so there you go. I mean, how simple. I think it's a cute card. I really do. But how simple is that, right? So I'm just going to take these and we're just going to glue this down. And I'm having mine stick up off the edge. And then I'm just going to trim that off because it is kind of a long piece and it would work perfect on a slim line or anything like that, but I don't need all of that on my card. So I'm just going to trim that off and throw this piece away. And then he is coming in for a landing. So again, you can have this with 3D foam tape, which I think I'm going to do. All right, and then now I am not putting embellishments or sequins on these. I sent you guys some of the gems and they're super cute. I wanted you to be able to go through and use them, but we've all seen me do that before. There's no sense in me doing them now, especially you may decide to put them someplace different. And so just have fun with the process. Make sure, you know, you use them because they just add a lot more pop and I love it. These look a little flat, so it'd be fun to put a little bit around it, but you can do it however you'd like. And if you choose to, you could make this into a shaker like we were talking about at the beginning. So just have fun with it. And again, with using the card fronts, it just makes it so easy. You're going to use that card front over and over and over again. You don't have to do any embellishment, anything like that. You can just, you know, cut it out, super easy. It's ready to go. All right, so there we go. Card number 2. I'm going to leave my cards out so you guys can kind of see what we've created. I'll try and put them up over here so that they're not in my way, but you guys can see them. And I've got my camera at a different angle than I normally do, so I apologize as I'm trying to learn my camera setting. All right, let's go for our next envelope. Let's see what we got. All right, so this one's fun. Okay, now we're getting into techniques. This that you have right in front of you is just going to be a piece of our Irresistibles. If you look, you can see that it's kind of got a shiny coating on it. Wherever the shiny coating is, you're not going to be able to get color. It's going to like wipe clean. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to grab, you can either grab a sponge or blending brush, whatever you prefer, and we're going to want to grab Capri ink, and then you're going to want the Desert Rose. Okay, and again, whatever works for you, whatever mediums you have to be able to work with, is the mediums we're using are the inks, but whatever blending options you have. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, and I'm going to bring back in this mat just because it's easier to clean off of my little all-purpose mat. And as you can see, I've talked about this before, but I like to cut it down just because I have such a small workspace. This way, if I'm working on a small project, I can pull it out and just use it there. All right, we want to start with our lightest color first. We're going to use 2 colors on this, okay? So my lightest color out of the 2 of these is going to be Capri. And I will tell you, if you haven't already figured it out, Desert Rose, when you're playing with this one, you can tell it's kind of like got a brownish tint to it, which is really, it's a pinky red brown tint. When you put it with the blue, you're definitely going to get more of those browns coming through. So I just want you to be prepared for what we're getting. But all I'm doing right now is I'm taking, again, my lightest color, which is the Capri, and I'm just going over the top of my paper. And it's just your regular cardstock, but with this Irresistibles on it, which again is just going to be so that you don't have to worry about getting ink, or it's going to give you a fun little texture that's going to keep the ink away in certain areas. Now, so that you don't get any harsh lines, always remember to start off the edge of your paper and then go into your paper. That way you're not getting those harsh you know, circles or punches or whatever that you would get from there. So that's pretty on its own, just like that, but I wanted you to see how to take it to the next step. So if you will grab any of your stencils, I apologize, here we go. So I've got my stencils over here. My mom needed an album, and so I took all of my stencils out of my album so I could give her the one I had until I could order another one. So I had to go search for a minute. So this is one of our slimline stencils. This is still, this is the plaid, and it is still on sale. What I'm going to do is, you can see all the lines are going in one direction. They're double lines. I'm going to put these down, and I'm going to try my best not to have them directly on top of any of the irresistible lines. It's going to be hard to do that because some of them are just going to, it's just naturally how it's going to be with the spacing. But that's basically what we're trying not to do. If I went the other direction, I would have the same problem, right? Because they're going in both directions. So I'm just going to kind of go in the center, trying to play and see what I can get out of that. And I'm just kind of trying to make sure I'm looking around. And then if you can tape it down, like I've got a little bit of tape there, that's how I hold it in my page protector, but I can also hold it with my fingers since it's much bigger. But we want to make sure that these pieces do not move, okay? So again, you're going to now take Desert Rose. We're just putting it in our ink, and I'm going to make sure that this does not move. And then I'm just going to go over, and actually I don't have any color there. So see, this is the thing that you're just kind of watching for. You're going to move it based upon to fill in your other space, your negative space. And so I want to make sure I had it on the ends. I had a little bit, and I think that'll work okay. All right, so again, I'm just starting off onto my stencil. I'm holding my stencil down, especially those lines. It's going to help if you go in the same direction as the lines so that the lines don't move. So normally we say go in a circle, but if you go in a circle on these, what's going to happen is you're going to probably end up moving one of those lines, and you don't necessarily want to do that. Now you can do this with any color that you want. I just happen to use these colors this time, but this is a fun way to take these irresistibles and make a plaid or a design that's all your own, that's going to match whatever is in your pictures. If you're scrapbooking, it's going to match, you know, whatever you need it to be, maybe with the other papers. So there you go. So I've got that. Now I'm going to move this again and try and get a little bit more color there in those other spaces, so I don't have just so much that's gone. And we do have another stripe that has like even more thinner stripes, but that's just not the one I grabbed. So I'm making do with this one. Like I said, I don't have my book just to go to and pull out. They're all just sitting on the shelf, kind of mixed together right now until my new album comes in. But I love how I was able to take this and literally make it mine. It now has my own colors. It's got my own design. It doesn't look like anybody else's. And I like it like that. I like that I can do whatever I need to with this, and it's not going to be like anybody else's, right? So yours may even look a little bit different, and that's okay. That's kind of what you want. Again, you're going for your own theme. So we're going to use that as our base. We're also going to, before we put everything away as far as our stamps and stuff, we're going to take out this little piece here, and we're going to stamp on it Warm Wishes or whatever you want. And then we're going to color it in with the Capri again. All right, so I'm going to bring back in Capri and black. Black is what I'm going to stamp my title in. And you put Happy Owl Days away. And Warm Wishes. And this, honestly, I mean, you can use any time for like the warm or the winter time, anything like that, because it will definitely fit for that motif. All right, so we're just going to put this here. Again, same thing. I'm doing it mostly to the right. And there we go. And then make sure to clean your stamps off. And even your stencil. You want to make sure you clean your stencil off. And I'm sorry, I know the sound of it over online is awful. I apologize. But I'm going to go ahead and grab my plaid pieces before it dries too much. It's always easier to clean it right away than it is later. Okay. And then let's go ahead and we want to make our cut. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our sponge and to Capri, and we're just going to softly go along the edges of the Capri, or of this stamped piece with the Capri. And again, I'm just going along the edges and kind of dragging it in. And by doing that, I'm getting a harsher look on the sides and a warmer, softer look in the inside, instead of just going from all over it. You see how that's darker around the edges and then more white inside? That's really what I was looking for. Okay, so there we go. Let's go ahead and take this little piece of Capri and we're going to tear this. So the way we're going to tear it is we're going to, if you want the white look, which I do, I'm tearing just a little piece using my nails and just pulling it apart or tearing it apart. And by pulling it to me, I'm getting the white core that you find with the Close to My Heart cardstock. Okay, just like that. All right, we're almost there. So we've got lots of our pieces together. Again, this is the card that we're making, so we want to go ahead and grab another branch. And then we want to grab two of like the mama and the baby. And I'm telling you, this baby so reminds me of me, and then a couple of my children as well. The mama's trying to rest and the child's trying to see, is she resting? Can I get away with something? What can I do, right? That's what I see anyway when I look at it. All right, so if you look at this one, you can see there's a little extra glitter in some different places. We're going to talk about that, okay? So we're going to create this card and then we're going to come back to it here in a little bit, and I'm going to show you kind of what I did. All right, so what we're going to do right now is I'm just going to go ahead and color in, and I'm coloring these gray. I figured gray kind of went better with the colors. So, and I love like little gray owls. I just think they're so sweet. Same thing. I'm just pulling it along the outside. I'm not really trying to blend. I'm just letting the pencil and the watercolor do its thing. Okay. My hands over the years, I really struggle holding like thin pencils like this. And so and I think I have a tendency to press harder when I write. And so when I have a thin pencil or pen and I'm writing, my hands really get weak and tired and pained. And so that's one of the things I love about our tri-blend markers is they're so wide, it doesn't hurt me near as much. And then also with the technique that I'm doing right now, I don't have to worry about it because I have to go light, right? I'm trying to go light. And so it's not hurting my hand just to kind of move it and do, you know, what it needs to be done there. All right, so now I'm just going to take kind of like I'm going to take the black or the really dark brown, I guess, and kind of go over these little their feet and the nose. All right. And then in order to kind of make it work with the colors that we chose here, again, I'm just using colored pencils that would match. So I'm just going to color in the child's one, all that color. And then the hat. And notice the hat also goes up behind his ears. I almost always miss that when I'm coloring this little guy or the owls in general. All right, so, and now for over here, I'm going to just do layers. I like doing like the different tricolors. Again, just keeping it really, really light. and letting the watercolor paper do its thing. If you don't have colored pencils, markers really truly do work very, very well. And I would recommend that you do those. You use your markers. They'll work great on this watercolor paper. Although I do feel like they work even better on our White Daisy paper. I'm going to leave her little button or whatever you want to call that at the top. I'm going to leave that white. And there you go. Now we're going to come back to here, and we just need to color our branch. And because these colors make me think of winter, the branches might not have anything but frost on it. I'm not going to color my branches, but I'm going to show you in a little bit a technique. I don't want to show you yet because we're going to have to use that towards the end. And I want us to be able to play a little bit more before we get into that. So this card is to be continued. We're going to pull it back in here at the end, towards the end. All right, so let's go ahead and put our pieces together now that we've got all of the prep steps done. So we're going to start with our plaid piece, and this is going to go towards the bottom, and we're just going to center it in the card. Again, there's that loud noise. I apologize. Taking my piece of glitter paper, and then this is going to go right on top. And if you notice, I only put the adhesive at the very, very bottom. That way, if I wanted to, I could kind of flip this up a little bit, but definitely not needed. It's up to you how you want to do it. All right, so I'm just going to put this here, and I kind of want to, before I adhere anything down, I want to make sure everything's going to fit like I want it to. I think that will be good. I want my branch to be centered. I'm not trying to have it go off the page, although that would be cute too. But because this one's going off the page, I kind of don't want them all at the same starting point. Okay. So then I'm going to start with the baby. I want the baby flat, or the child flat on here, and then this one I'm going to pop up a little bit so that it goes right so the child is just right behind the mom. Just like that. Then again, my foam tape. Okay. That's very loud and annoying, isn't it? I really apologize. If I knew it was going to be quite so loud, I probably would not have decided to come on right now. But again, I really did not want... Oh, I've got her too high, don't I? Did not want it to get Christmas and me still not be done with this. I wanted you guys to be able to at least have them to do over your Christmas break, if not already.